Hello everyone. So in the last video you have studied about nutrition topic in the chapter life processes of NCERT class 10 biology first chapter. So today we will continue with the respiration topic. So you have studied in the previous that one the what you can say nutrition and how do we obtain the nutrition, that means in case of unicellular organisms and also in case of multicellular organisms, right? And what is the importance of this nutrition? So as you all know that we need energy to do any work, and for that purpose we need food, right? So this food is taken into any organism body with a process called as nutrition. But even though we have food, our body cannot produce energy. Then how does our body produce energy? So that is by the process called as respiration. So as I have given in the introduction that so respiration is a process of breaking down of the food to release energy. So for this reason we had to study about the respiration topic today. So during respiration we know that some gases are released into the atmosphere and some are taken into the body, right? And how does these things happen and what is the meaning of respiration? So what is the types of respiration, and then what are the mechanism of respiration in human beings? So all these things we will discuss in this topic. Then we have few example here. We have to do some activity. So look at the picture. So in this picture what we are doing is we took two test tubes, and in the two test tubes we had to take freshly prepared lime water. So chemically what is the chemical formula or chemical name of this lime water? That is calcium hydroxide. So commonly we all know that that is CaOH twice, right? So the color of this lime water when it is freshly prepared is colorless. But now look at this activity. So what happens when we conduct this activity is, so here we have two test tubes and mark this test tubes as A and B, and then in the first test tube A blow the air by using pitchkari. As you can see in this picture, you can also use the rubber tube to pass the air into the lime water, and also we had to repeat the same activity in test tube B, that is by blowing air from our mouth by using a tube. So what we can observe in this activity is, so our observation will be formation of white color in both the test tube. That means in test tube A and test tube B we can observe which color? White color. But the rate of formation of this white color is different. That is when we are blowing the air through our mouth, and when you look at the pitchkari, that means we are blowing the air by using pitchkari, it is different. So in which test tube we can observe the white color earlier? Directly we can say that is in test tube B, because whenever we exhale carbon dioxide. That means the amount of this carbon dioxide is more. For that reason in test tube B, that means earlier we will get the white color compared to that of test tube A. That means the colorless liquid turns to which color? White color. So this indicates that something has happened in this test tube. That means this calcium hydroxide, which is lime water, this lime water when it is passed with carbon dioxide, for example we can say this is calcium hydroxide, that is CaOH twice, and when you blow the air, that is carbon dioxide, into the lime water, it forms CaCO3. So what is that CaCO3? That is calcium carbonate. So this calcium carbonate is a white precipitate. So due to the formation of this white precipitate, we can observe white color. That means in this activity, the air which is released is carbon dioxide. And then we will do one more activity. So we will take a conical flask. So you all have seen the conical flask in your chemistry lab or in biology lab. And in this conical flask, take sugar solution or any juice which is mixed with sugar. So say it has sugar solution, and then to this conical flask add some yeast. So you will get the yeast in bakery, and then close the mouth of the conical flask by using a rubber cork which has a single hole. Now through this single hole, insert a delivery tube, or we can say it as a bent tube, and connect the another end of this bent tube to a test tube. I will draw the test tube here. So to another test tube which contains again which kind of water, that is lime water. That lime water is calcium hydroxide. So now, so after keeping this setup, we can observe turning of the colorless solution into white, because in the previous activity we studied that whenever carbon dioxide is passed into lime water, the lime water turns milky. So then we can say that in this activity also which gas is produced, that is CO2, that carbon dioxide gas is released during this activity. That means the yeast, it breaks down the sugar which is present in this solution and it produces carbon dioxide. So in both this activity we can directly say that the product of respiration is majorly, that is carbon dioxide. So now we got that the product of respiration is carbon dioxide, but the CO2 is not only the product of respiration, there are other products also. If we consider many other organisms which are present around us, that means we have diverse organisms. So these diverse organisms, to produce energy, they use different method. So for example, say some organisms, they use oxygen to produce energy and some they do not. If you look at this in the activity, in the first activity what we did, humans, we inhale oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide, right? So these kind of organisms where they uses oxygen for respiration process, they are called as aerobic organisms. And in case of the second activity, that is yeast, this yeast does not use oxygen for respiration. For that reason, this kind of yeast are called as anaerobic organisms, and then the type of respiration is called as anaerobic respiration. But both are not same, even though they produce energy. Then how this aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration is different from each other? So let us discuss that one. So when aerobic organisms respire, as you can see in the first activity, after respiration, I will write here, so in case of aerobic respiration and another one, that is anaerobic respiration. As you can see, in the aerobic respiration, this organism release the product, that is CO2, right? And along with that, commonly we know that it releases energy and also it forms water. Clear? And then when it comes to anaerobic respiration, which is the product? As usual, it is carbon dioxide, plus it also releases energy and also it releases ethanol, that is C2H5OH. So look at the product. The product in these two are different. So here in case of aerobic organisms, that is CO2, that is carbon dioxide, that releases energy and water in the form of vapor, and then in case of anaerobic organism, they releases carbon dioxide, energy, and then ethanol. And one more important point, the amount of energy produced in aerobic and anaerobic. So in case of aerobic organisms, the energy released is large. That means it releases more amount of energy compared to that of whom? Anaerobic. That means this anaerobic respiration, it releases less energy. Clear? So this is the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So easily, if you get these kind of questions in your exam, you can clearly answer this question answer. Clear? And for respiration, so organisms, they break down food. Either it may be by using oxygen or without using oxygen, but one system or one condition is same. That is, in case of nutrition, we commonly know that the common energy source for every organism is what? That is glucose, right? And this glucose is utilized by every organism, and this glucose, in the first step, it is broken down into pyruvate. So look at this one. So this glucose is a 6 carbon containing molecule. That is, if we write here C, 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 C and C. How many? 6 carbon. But when the glucose is broken down into pyruvate, it forms 3 carbon containing molecule. That is C, 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 and then it breaks the carbon chain here and it forms 3 carbon containing 2 molecules. That means whenever one glucose molecule breaks down, it forms how many pyruvate? It forms 2 pyruvate, which has 3 carbon in the chain. And this process is same in case of both aerobic respiration and also in anaerobic respiration. And this step, it takes place in cytoplasm. So as you know, where is the cytoplasm in a cell? Clear. And then when we move further, for example, we have what we have studied here, that is glucose, which contains how many carbon? Which contains 6 carbon. It is broken down into what? Broken down into pyruvate, which contains how many carbon? 3 carbon. And how many molecules? So it is 2 molecules of pyruvate. Clear. And where it takes place? So this breaking down takes place in cytoplasm. And then this breakdown, that means glucose into pyruvate, it is common in case of both aerobic respiration and also in anaerobic respiration. But in the further, it is different. In case of anaerobic organisms, for example, say in the previous activity we have studied yeast. In case of yeast, which kind of respiration? It is anaerobic respiration. That means complete absence of oxygen, right? So it is called anaerobic respiration. So in case of anaerobic respiration, for example, in yeast, the products which are released is CH3, CH2, OH, which is ethanol, and then it releases carbon dioxide plus what it gives? It gives energy. But as we have studied in the previous one, that is energy released in the which one? Anaerobic respiration is less. And then when it comes to the aerobic organisms, now in presence of oxygen, that means aerobic organisms, they uses oxygen for respiration. So in that case, the pyruvate, which is 2 molecule, it breaks down into carbon dioxide. Along with that, what it releases? It releases water, that is H2O, plus it also releases energy, but the energy released is high. Clear? And here we have discussed presence of oxygen, but where does this process takes place? And this process takes place in mitochondria. So commonly you all know that mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell, where energy is released in the form of ATP. So this energy here we are mentioning now, so this energy they are immediately used up by the cell to release the energy currency molecules, and that is ATP, so adenosine triphosphates. But so this does not happen always. Sometimes, for example, you may recall the situation. So whenever a player is playing cricket, when he is running between the wickets, sometimes he will hold his leg and he cannot run. So you may have seen in the TV or in live also, you may have watched that one. So what happened to that cricketer while running between the wickets? So that is called as muscle cramp, right? And what is the reason for all these muscle cramps? Let us see. Here we have mentioned presence of oxygen. So whenever our pyruvate gets adequate amount of oxygen in mitochondria, it breaks down to give carbon dioxide, water and high amount of energy. But during, we can say, lack of oxygen. So what do you mean by lack of oxygen? That means insufficient supply of oxygen. So this pyruvate in which cell? For example, we can say muscle cell, because our energy is produced from muscle cell. Clear? So in muscle cell, when there is lack of oxygen, this pyruvate does not break into carbon dioxide and water and energy. Instead of that, this pyruvate during the lack of oxygen, pyruvate breaks into lactic acid plus energy, and this lactic acid, it is stored or it is accumulated in muscle cell, and then it causes cramps. We say it as muscle cramps. So due to the muscle cramp, the cricketer or any athlete, if they run suddenly, sometimes they may get the muscle cramp and they cannot run. For that reason, before doing any activity, that means while playing any games, they will do warm-ups. So you may have seen that. So these warm-ups are important to control this kind of muscle cramp. So these things happen during respiration. And then we have studied, so these energies are utilized to form the molecules called as ATP, and this ATP, it releases energy. Now there is a condition. You have studied that aerobic respiration, it needs oxygen, as like that aerobic organisms, to carry out the aerobic respiration, they need sufficient amount of oxygen. In case of anaerobic, since they do not need any oxygen, there is no need to get the oxygen from the atmosphere, right? But aerobic organisms, they need oxygen, so they must have some mechanism to get the oxygen from the atmosphere. So as you know that in case of unicellular organisms, since they have only one cell, directly they will intake the oxygen or any other gases from the atmosphere directly by the process of diffusion. But in case of multicellular organisms, it will not happen. For that reason, they have some system. So those systems are called as respiratory systems. Now, in multicellular organisms, we have two kingdoms, majorly two kingdoms we can say now, that is kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. Now what happens in kingdom Plantae? That means when it comes to which one? That is plant. Do they need gases? Yes. the plants also need gas. How? For example, as you know that photosynthesis. What do you mean by photosynthesis? So it is a process of preparing their food by using sunlight, chlorophyll, water and carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is a gas which is present in atmosphere. That means the plant has to take in the carbon dioxide to produce food and oxygen, and when the oxygen is produced, so this oxygen is eliminated into atmosphere. So for that reason, all these plants, what they have for the exchanging of the gases, they have stomata. So through the stomata, the plant exchanges the gases. But when the gas enters into the plant body, as you can see in this picture, they have large intercellular spaces. So when the gas enters into the plant body through stomata, due to the intercellular spaces which are present between the cell, the gases can diffuse easily in the plant body. But what about animals? In case of animals, in some parts, not on some part, in so many parts, we don't have this kind of large intercellular spaces, and the diffusion easily it will not take place. So that animals, they have a separate system. Clear? So we will discuss later. And also in case of plant, the exchange of gases is not same, because consider during which time, that is night time. During night time, the photosynthesis will not take place in plant body. So whenever the photosynthesis does not take place in the plant body, it will not utilize carbon dioxide. So during night, the plants, they eliminate carbon dioxide. Clear? Okay, what it will do? It will do elimination of the carbon dioxide. But during daytime, photosynthesis takes place. For that reason, during daytime, it intakes carbon dioxide, and after photosynthesis, oxygen is eliminated from the plant body. So by the process of commonly diffusion and with the help of stomata. Now when it comes to the animals, terrestrial organism. So this terrestrial organism, they gets the oxygen from the atmosphere. Now we will discuss terrestrial organisms as well as aquatic organism. So first we will take the aquatic organism. As you all know that fishes, right? So what happens in fishes? You have seen the fish in an aquarium. So in this picture, as you can see that the fishes, they have gills, right? So in this part we can say gills. So sometimes you can clearly observe the gills, or sometimes you cannot see the gills because the operculum which is present on the gill, it will cover the gills. Okay, now what we have to observe here is, when you observe the fish which is present in the aquarium or in any water habitat, observe the number of times the fish open and closes its mouth, and compare this with the number of times it open and close the gill. What we can observe is both will remain same. That means number of time, if it opens the mouth 10 times, it will open the gills also 10 times. Then what is the reason? So the reason behind this is the fishes, they cannot intake the oxygen directly from the atmosphere, and this fishes, that means other aquatic animals, they uses the oxygen which is present in water, that is in dissolved form. So for that reason they have gills. Now what they will do is, these fishes, they open the mouth and they intake the water. So when the water enters into the mouth, these fishes, they release the water through the gills out of their body with high force. And what happens here is, The oxygen which is present in the water, that means dissolved oxygen, keep it in mind, the oxygen which is not present in water, this is not absorbed by the fish, but the oxygen which is dissolved in water, so these oxygens are absorbed by the gill, and the gill contains blood capillary, and this blood it carries the oxygen to the other cells, and the fish that releases water out of its body. So this happens in case of fishes, that is in case of aquatic animals. But what happens in terrestrial organism? In case of terrestrial organism, we have to take in the oxygen which is present in atmosphere, so that means easily we will get the oxygen. But in case of, as you can see in the picture, the amount of oxygen present in the water is very less, that is dissolved oxygen amount is very less, and for that reason the rate of respiration in case of fishes is high. So as you can see in the any videos of the fishes, continuously they will open and close the mouth because the rate of respiration is somewhat fast in case of fishes. Reason, the amount of dissolved oxygen is less, and to get high amount of oxygen they must increase the rate of respiration. But when it comes to the animals, that is terrestrial animals, since we are getting the oxygen directly from the atmosphere, so this kind of high rate of respiration is not needed, but we have a system that is called respiratory system. And these terrestrial organisms, the different organisms, to say, they have different methods to get the oxygen from the atmosphere. For example, if you say cockroaches, they get the oxygen through trachea, and if you say humans, we will intake the oxygen through our nostril, and if you say the frog, so this frog they breathe through the lungs and also with the skin, right? But what we have to note here is the surface of absorption. The surface of absorption in case of terrestrial organisms are somewhat large, and since they are absorbing the gases from the atmosphere, these surfaces are delicate. Since they are delicate, they should be protected. For that reason, all these systems, that is respiratory systems, are encased within the body. Can you see your lungs? No, because our lungs are situated inside our body, and these lungs are protected by rib cages because the lungs are delicate, so they must be protected. Now we will study the respiratory system in the human body, and then the mechanism of respiration in humans, and then how does it take place. As you can see in the picture, the respiratory system, it has many parts. That is, we have nostril, trachea, and then here rings of cartilage, and when it comes here, it has bronchi, and then bronchioles, and then alveolar sac. So in the nostrils, the air is inhaled. So when the air is inhaled, we know that the nasal cavity, it contains hair, small hairs. So these hairs, they act as filter of oxygen, that means filter of air. If the air contains any dust particle, so all the dust particles are trapped in the hair, and then along with that, this nasal chamber, it also has mucus gland, and these mucus gland, they secrete mucus, which also helps in same function, that means trapping of the dust. And then the air enters into the trachea. So here these trachea, these are all protected by rings of cartilage, and this rings of cartilage, it protects the trachea from collapsing. And then this trachea divides into two parts, which is called bronchi, and then this bronchi enters into two lungs, that means each lung, that is left and right lung, and in the lungs it divides many times to form bronchioles, and at the tip of the bronchioles it has many alveolar sac, and these alveolar sacs, as you can see in the picture, So these alveoli, they have numerous blood capillary. That means in the alveoli the blood passes. Now this is our respiratory system. What is the mechanism of respiration in our body? So we will discuss now. So when we inhale air, so for example now itself you can do the activity, just inhale the air. When you inhale, our rib cage, it expands and it moves upward, right? Just you can feel that when you inhale, rib cage moves, that means it lifts upward and the space it becomes widened, and the diaphragm, which we say here, as you can see in this picture, the diaphragm, this diaphragm becomes flat, and when the diaphragm becomes flat, the rib cage moves upward and the volume enlarges, the air enters through the nostril and it comes to the alveoli. So now we will have the picture of the alveoli. Consider this as an alveolar sac, and this alveolar sac, they have numerous blood capillaries. So consider they have blood capillaries here, and then if, for example, when the oxygen enters into the alveolar sac, that means through nostril to trachea, trachea to bronchus, bronchus to bronchiole, bronchiole to, then finally the oxygen comes to alveoli. So now in the alveoli it has oxygen. So this oxygen must enter into the bloodstream. So this happens by the process called as diffusion. So what is diffusion? So diffusion is the process of movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration, right? And then since the alveoli contains much concentration of oxygen and there is less concentration of oxygen in bloodstream, so this oxygen enters into the bloodstream by the process of diffusion, and in turn here the blood, it carries carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide which is carried from the cell is released into alveoli. So in this way the respiratory gases are exchanged in alveoli. Clear? Now not only the oxygen enters into the alveoli, because we know that air is a mixture of many gases. It contains hydrogen, nitrogen, some amount of inert gases. Clear? But how does our body absorb only oxygen? Is there any other system? Yes, we have a pigment that is called respiratory pigment called hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin, it has high affinity towards oxygen. Since it has high affinity towards oxygen, this hemoglobin absorbs oxygen. Clear? And this hemoglobin, it carries the oxygen throughout our body with the help of bloodstream, whereas this carbon dioxide, as you can see here, this carbon dioxide, it has less affinity towards hemoglobin compared to that of oxygen. For that reason the carbon dioxide does not combine with the hemoglobin. Instead of that, the carbon dioxide which is eliminated from the cell after respiration, it is transported as in which form? That is in soluble form. We can say it as an carbonic acid. That is carbon dioxide, it combines with water to form carbonic acid. So this carbon dioxide is transported in our bloodstream in which form? Soluble form, whereas this oxygen is carried in our body in the bloodstream with the help of hemoglobin, and due to the presence of this hemoglobin, the transportation of the oxygen to each and every cell in the body is fast. There is one more reason. For example, if you consider unicellular organisms, they use a simple diffusion process, but if we use that simple diffusion process, it is a fact, for a single molecule of oxygen to reach from our, for example, you can say from our lungs, from lungs to our toes, it takes 3 years with the process of diffusion, right? But if this happens, we will not survive, and this problem is solved by the pigment called as hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin, it makes the transportation faster and easier. Clear? So this is about respiration in human body. And then if you understand this topic, as usual, at the end we have some questions. You can answer these questions, and if you like this video, so please subscribe to my channel, and then in the upcoming video I will start with the topic that is transportation in plants as well as in humans. And if you like this video, so please subscribe and also share as much as you can, and press the bell icon to get the new updates. Thank you.